Hi, good morning. This is Izzy Sylvester, village agent in West Somerset, coming to you with another Talking Cafe. I have on with me my very special guest, and it's Carolyn Smith, who specialises in working with both mental health, using yoga techniques and breathing to support those people feeling anxious. So I'm just going to come straight in with you, Carolyn, and tell us about the people you've been supporting at the moment, because things have changed. We're coming out of lockdown, but that doesn't mean to say people aren't feeling anxious. So what are you doing? What are you helping people with at the moment with their stress?
Okay, so there's a whole lot of different levels to it, aren't there? If we think back over the last year, we've been living our lives in so much more isolation, in our homes, and every time if we've had to go out, for instance, to a supermarket, for instance, having to be really careful, and those messages are that it is quite scary to be out there. It's quite frightening. We've got to be super. So there's all of that unlearning to start to do, but not complete unlearning, because, we've still got to be very careful out there at the moment. So there's a real transition, I think, in terms of our mindset, getting used to the idea that things are unlocking and we're going to be able to do slightly more things again as time goes on. And, in order to feel safe to do that, a lot of the work that I've been doing with people is about breathing, which helps to calm the whole system down, and relaxation techniques, also yoga as well. But I always say that the breathing techniques are probably the most powerful techniques that we have, because they're with us all the time. So if you think about, maybe somebody going out for the first time who hasn't been outside their home for a year or more now, feeling very anxious, going, say, to a supermarket, breathing, you've got it with you. You can use that in the middle of the supermarket. And actually, there are breathing techniques that we can do when nobody even knows what you're doing. It's something that isn't obvious. So,
which is interesting, because it's very much like many of us, and I include myself in this, can be going round feeling very low, feeling very anxious, thinking other people are feeling so much better because they're putting out a brave persona and outside projecting something.
yeah.
But inside, we're feeling something quite different, aren't we? So these techniques, so your special techniques, so could you be sitting in the car and doing something before you get out to go to the supermarket?
Absolutely. Sitting in the car, it takes between 3 to 5 minutes for breathing techniques to really start to work. And in that 3 to 5 minutes, what's happening is that through the breath, we're sending signals straight up to the brain that are telling the brain that we're safe and that we're calm. So yeah, absolutely. Doing a breathing technique, maybe before even going out, sitting in the car, a breathing technique. And then you could even do it around the supermarket. If you felt anxiety levels starting to increase, you could absolutely just do it as you walk around. I think, sometimes when people try breathing techniques for the first time, it can take quite a few times to start to get used to it. So if there are people that are listening now that are feeling anxious about, going out, all of the changes that are happening, I would recommend, there's no time like the present. I'd recommend starting now, starting to practice these breathing techniques, which you can do when you're, lying in bed in the morning before you get up, or before you go to sleep at night, or even sitting, in front of the TV. You can practice those breathing techniques in order that when you go out and maybe sitting in your car for the first time, ready to go into a supermarket, you know what to do. Your body knows what to do.
Well, the next question. What is it we're doing? What is it we're doing?
What is it we're doing? Okay. The most simple, there's lots of different types of breathing techniques, but there's one that I always go back to, and it's the one that I teach routinely because it is suitable for practically everybody, okay, which is breathing into the belly. When we are feeling stressed, anxious, we breathe really high up. And, I'm sure most people have experienced times in their lives, if you're feeling really worried about something, it's
Yeah.
almost like really hard to take a full intake of breath. So when we're calm, we breathe low down in our bellies. And it's actually how babies breathe. If you've ever watched a young baby breathing, they naturally breathe into their belly. But it's something that we unlearn, as we get older and become adults, we sort of unlearn that. And there's a lot of people as well who just routinely breathe into their chest, which drives stress and anxiety. Breathing into the belly, breathing through the nostrils as well, rather than through the mouth. There's all those little hairs within our nostrils that are there to filter the air and, to take it down. So it's good on so many levels. But there's also research that shows that breathing through the nostrils is more calming than breathing through the mouth. So we want to be breathing through the nostrils and breathing down into the belly and gradually slowing it down. So would it be helpful just to go through how to do it, practically with anybody who's listening, Izzy? Because we could do that.
That would be absolutely fantastic, because, we can all talk all we want, but action is the way we're going to learn something, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So for anybody who is watching live or watching the video on the sort of catch up, if you can call it that, you don't need to do anything. You can sit exactly where you are, or you could even lie down. And actually lying down can be really nice to learn breathing, because you can really start to feel the tummy rising and falling like a baby's tummy. Much easier lying down. So whoever's watching, I'd suggest get into a position, lying down, make yourself comfortable, of course, and maybe a little cushion under your head, or sit nice and upright in a chair. So you want to feel that contact with the chair. And then often we sit like this, don't we? With our neck forward and, just hunching. So if we open up, lift up out of the waist, then we've got more space to breathe. If we're like this, in fact, you could try it. If you hunch for a moment, try and take a big amount of breath in through your nostrils. And then sit up and do exactly the same. Could you notice the difference?
I mean, it's a totally different thing, isn't it? It's a totally different. Whatever's happening physically is making quite a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more space for the breath to come in when we've not got our rib cage collapsed down. Okay, and I'm sort of going into embodiment things now. It's a slight aside, but also relevant. If we're feeling anxious and stressed, there's also a tendency to want to withdraw physically with the body and to go inwards, which also doesn't help the breathing. So make a real effort to sit nice and tall. If you're lying down, it does it for you. It opens the chest up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suggest pop the hands onto the belly, and you might like to close your eyes just so that you don't get caught up with other things that might be going on around you, or even just take a soft gaze. Okay, so we're going to let our jaw be nice and soft, so have a little bit of space between the teeth, and then see if you can inhale through the nostrils and direct the breath down to where your hands are. See if you can feel the tummy start to rise and then drop back. And if you're new to this, you may find that the breath feels like it won't go down. It can get stuck. It can feel like it's stuck in the throat or the chest. So don't force against that. Just keep encouraging each time the breath to go a little bit lower. And the hands there are really helpful because you've got something to breathe into, or imagine that you're breathing into. Really nice, slow breaths, keeping the jaw relaxed, teeth a little apart, breathing in and out through the nostrils. If you're not used to breathing in this way as well, you may find that it's really challenging to use the muscles that we breathe with. If they haven't been used for a long time, then same as with any muscles, they need to adjust. So it does come. Practice is the key. So keep sending the breath low down or lower down in towards the belly. And if you can, you might like to slow the breath down a little. And some people find it helpful just to count, to get a rhythm. So equal inhalations and exhalations. And I'm not going to count because everyone's breathing rate will be different. But you may like to count to say 3, 4, 5 or 6 slowly. And then you can encourage the breath to gradually equal out. So I'm not going to keep talking through this because I think it's something that is really useful to just practice on your own. That slow counting, if that's helpful. Getting the breath, encouraging it lower down into the belly. And if it doesn't happen quickly, then don't worry, because it will. The more you practice, the easier it becomes, and the breath will drop down. So if you're doing the breathing exercise right now, let's just take 3 or 4 more breaths here. Nice and slowly. You might even like to notice every time you inhale, you might be able to feel cool air going through the nostrils. And then when you exhale, maybe notice that the air is warm on the nostrils. Really nice way just to follow the breath as it comes in and out. And then as you breathe, just notice if there are any parts of the body that are feeling really tight or tense. Could you imagine as you exhale that they're softening? And the exhale is a really good way to imagine, for instance, letting the shoulders just drop down a little bit more. Maybe to soften the skin on the forehead and across the brow. And then maybe as we start to come back, give the fingers a little wiggle and become aware of the room that you're in. And then when you're ready, you could gradually start to open your eyes again. How was that, Izzy?
Oh, well, I've been busy on the computer for the last couple of hours. So that was absolutely lovely. That's a lovely little, it feels like being given a little present.
The breath is so powerful. I wouldn't have believed it until I started becoming really interested in breath work. When I realized it worked for me, I became really fascinated, how it works. And, it's the easiest thing possible. And, like lots of people, I found it really difficult to start with, because I was breathing much higher up in my chest. I've done that for years. So it did take a bit of practice, but over the course of, even days, you can notice a difference, but, it may take longer. It's the sort of thing, though, that, you haven't got to go anywhere. You can integrate it really easily into your life. So you could spend, 5 minutes at some point during the day, even in bed before you get up. And it's a technique that I often recommend. If you wake up feeling stressed or anxious, those days where you might wake And it's like ping, the eyes are immediately open and thinking, oh my goodness, I feel, you can feel all the heart racing a bit faster, your mind is racing, thoughts are racing, and they're all worried, anxious thoughts. To actually take 5 minutes before you get up to calm the body down, that helps with our thoughts as well. If we're in a calmer place, then that can help to slow the thoughts down. It also brings us into the now. If you're lying down in your bed or you're sitting on your sofa, just brings us into the present. When we're worried, we're anxious, we're looking ahead. If you notice those things we tell ourselves, it's all those things that might happen.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the here and now, you can sort of say to yourself, yeah, okay, I'm actually right now, I'm sitting here, and I'm just going to focus on being here and now, focusing on my breath. So it's working in different ways. The calming, sending the signals to the brain, telling the brain we're safe, but also being in the moment. But it does take practice. So I would really encourage anybody who wants to give it a go, spend 5 minutes a day and, try it for a few weeks, see how you get on. And there's no guarantees with anything, but, there's a really, really good chance that it will make a big difference to how you feel and be something you can take around with you. And if it's not coming to you, if you find it really difficult, then actually getting a little bit of help with it, because, usually it's about our physical body, or just our body is so used to breathing in a particular way that, maybe we just need a little bit more help with that to be able to learn the technique. It's a skill. So it's not. Sorry,
yeah, and so we'll be bringing up your an email for you on the stream and your contact, so anybody could contact you about it. We've talked before and said, just to underline, this isn't some weird new age kind of technique. This is very basic biology that you're talking about, isn't it? Absolutely. This is about changing the chemistry in the body. So it's just basic biology. This is what you're using.
Exactly. There's lots of evidence for breathing that it really works. So evidence that it's not woo woo. It's not new agey. There is solid scientific evidence for breathing in a different way, and how it can calm and help us to change our state from feeling stressed and anxious to feeling more calm. So yeah, it's a really good point, Izzy.
Oh, so thank you ever so much for coming on, and I'm sure we'd love to see you again as things open up, and I'm sure there will even then be people who are still struggling. So a few more top tips on how to help yourself at home for free is really, really much appreciated by you, Carolyn. So thank you so much for coming in, and we look forward very much to seeing you again in the future.
Look forward to it, Izzy. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.